Player 4 Podcast's first t-shirt is now on sale at tpublic.com. Ever wonder what it takes to make a good podcast? We've already done the math for you and put it on a t-shirt. Visit our storefront at tpublic.com/user/P4podcast and get yours today. That's tpublic.com/user/P4podcast.
This is the Player 4 Podcast. Join us each week as we talk about video games, entertainment, and pop culture, and bring in guests from the Rooster Teeth community. Player 4 has entered the game.
What's up, everybody? Guess who's back for the Player 4 Podcast?
Guess who's back? Back again.
P4's back. Tell your friends.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Tristan, aka Shagwazir on the Rooster Teeth website.
I am Alex, aka Chaos Black 21.
And I am Malachi, aka Suki Kiba.
And I'm Joseph, aka J Dunlap. This is the Player 4 Podcast.
Wait, did we switch?
Yes, we did.
When people
You
go
were
now?
here for that.
We discussed it last week.
Oh my gosh.
Poor Alex.
Alex, that doesn't know things, guy.
Is this so that we don't have another mishap where Malachi gets forgotten?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes. Everybody seems to understand that Joseph goes last, and then they can talk. So,
Yeah.
we fix that.
Okay.
Also, Malachi says, and I'm Malachi, so now people think that he's last, and then I say something else and say, and I'm Joseph. Then it becomes a run-on sentence.
Yeah.
Okay, so, before we go any further, let's introduce our topics for today. If you are a first-time listener, welcome. If you've been here a while, then how's it going, jerk?
And why are you still here?
Why are you still... No, we love you, all of you, but our topics today, first off, we're going to talk about some Rooster Teeth-related stuff, Red vs. Blue and RTX, and then we're going to talk about Tristan's new hobby, and then after that, we're going to move on to spoiler talk about Deadpool, so if you haven't seen Deadpool, you will want to tune out for that topic, but not for the rest of the episode, because the rest of it's perfect and awesome.
Perfect episode.
Just perfect. We don't have any expectations to live up to now.
That's not a podcast. This is a podcast.
Man, that'd be an awesome intro.
Wait, did you mention that you were going to live vicariously through me?
No, hold on.
Wait, hold on. Did you say bi-curiously?
Bi-curious?
Player 4 Podcast. Bi-curious.
Oh, bi-curious. Oh, bi-curious.
Vicarious.
Vicarious.
Yeah, switch that B with a V.
So what Malachi's talking about is actually something we haven't brought up yet, which is a Rooster Teeth related topic. So what's coming up soon, guys?
Red versus Blue.
Season 14.
Roses are red and violets are blue.
Let's get together and make some purple.
Someday we'll cruise down Blood Gulch Avenue.
Oh, is that how that lyric goes?
It's red versus red and blue versus blue. It's I against I and me against you.
So yeah, Red vs. Blue Season 14 coming out soon. You'll want to tune in next week, folks, because we're going to be talking in depth about the upcoming season and some theories that we may or may not have about that. But it is coming out. And Alex and I, we have actually seen Season 13, and Tristan's catching up on that.
I don't know where I am.
For a second, I thought you were going to say that we saw Season 14. I'm like, hold on a second.
That's pretty impressive.
You mean you didn't? You didn't receive the email that said for all members of P4
We weren't
Podcast?
supposed to tell anyone, okay?
Oh,
we weren't supposed to tell anyone.
My bad.
I mean, I've got Season 13 sitting up on the shelf. I don't know if I've watched it yet. I'll have to rewatch it.
Yeah, you'll have to rewatch it. So we're going to be talking about Season 13 and Season 14 next week. And also there's going to be a thing that we're going to make Malachi do. Malachi, how much of Red vs. Blue have you seen?
Like, easily Season 1 and part of Season 2, but I'm going to have to watch it all over again because it's been so long.
So now we can live bi-curiously through him.
Damn it.
Is that wrong?
As you were rewatching Red vs. Blue and catching up, Alex, what's the name of the segment that we're going to have where we catch up with what Malachi's been watching in Red vs. Blue and live vicariously through him?
Well, you had a title and I had a title.
Yeah, I figured that yours would be better.
Relive vicariously.
I came up with the title of P4 Reliving Vicariously with the re in bold letters because the three of us, you, me, and Tristan, have seen pretty much all of Red vs. Blue, and so we are going to relive it while Malachi watches and tells us about it.
Okay, I like it. Reliving Vicariously is going to start as soon as Malachi starts his binge-watching adventure from seasons 1 through 13, and probably by that point, season 14, let's be honest.
Yes.
And then he'll let us know what stuck out to him, what he found to be funny, and then we'll go, oh yeah, that was great, or I completely forgot about that. Whatever happened about that?
Reaction shot.
Or that sucked.
Like, Yellow Church, for example.
Yellow Church, oh my god.
Dude, you don't want to know.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Alex, did you watch last week's episode that you had to miss?
No, not yet. I will.
I mean, it's okay. He only had 3 days to catch up on it.
I will. I saw the thumbnail of the Pokemon for some reason upside down. I don't quite know why.
So you'll have to go find out.
Yes. How much did you guys actually talk about that?
Tons.
Because I was the one who was originally wanting to talk about it, and then my internet was like, nope, screw you.
You know what? This is a good time to bring that up, Alex. We weren't able to talk about it because we knew nothing about it. What is Pokemon Day, Alex?
It was February 27th, I believe, if I recall.
I thought it was the 29th. The leap year. The leap day.
No, I'm pretty sure it wasn't the 29th.
Okay, what is it, though?
Well, Pokemon Day was to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Pokemon, and they released the original 3 games, Red, Blue, and Yellow. Unfortunately not Green, which was technically one of the original ones with Red, and then they made Blue. But they also announced the new Pokemon Sun and Moon that will be coming out later this year for the 3DS, with, of course, new legendaries and new Pokemon and all that jazz.
There have been 20 years of these things?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 20 years. It started in 1996.
Magic the Gathering is older than Pokemon.
I was 7 years old at the time then.
Really?
God, you're young.
Yes, I was 7 years old. Just turned 7. If they really started on
13.
If they really started on February 27th, because my birthday was on the 21st.
No, wait. I was 12 and a half.
I was 8.
Wow, you guys is young.
I was an 88 baby.
Actually, I was 10.
Wait, am I the baby of the Player 4 podcast
Yeah,
now?
because Malachi's a year older than me.
Oh, crap! How did this happen?
Well, thanks for filling us in on what Pokemon Day was. We were completely clueless. We were like, and then we're going to talk about Pokemon Day. And then we got to it and we're like, oh yeah, Alex isn't here.
So what's Pokemon Day? Malachi, tell us, what's Pokemon Day? I don't know, I just play the games.
It's true. That's all I like is the games.
Other stuff might have happened, but those were the big things, were that they released the originals again, now on the 3DS, and they announced the new ones coming out. And actually, I guess another thing that they announced was that so with the original games on the 3DS, you'll actually be able to use the Pokemon Bank that they released a couple versions ago of Pokemon, where you can actually bring them to the bank and then bring them to the next version of Pokemon. So you'll be actually able to bring your Pokemon from the originals to Sun and Moon.
Like Mass Effect style.
So it's like a Pokemon savings account. Do you get interest on your Pokemon savings account? Do they like level up a little bit automatically just for keeping them in there?
Nice try, Tristan.
But there's a monthly fee.
No. Yeah, they charge a fee.
Yeah.
I have it. I can't remember. I think it's like $5 a year, I think.
Oh, it's yearly.
I think so.
Coolness. So let's move on to the other Rooster Teeth topic, which is...
RTX.
Yes, RTX.
Riddick's.
Yeah, so I don't think I actually mentioned this on the podcast, but I made a whole boohoo on Twitter and Rooster Teeth, but with the car problems I've been having, I don't have the money to go to RTX.
No.
Which is heartbreaking, and I'm gonna have to sell my ticket.
I'm very upset.
I'm sorry, people. That means no Player 4 podcast panel this year, unfortunately. I feel like without Joseph, we would just be completely disorganized, you and I, Tristan.
You mean like the panel that I did last year?
We'd be the drinkers.
You'd be the guys drawing on the paper and drinking and
I'm laughing about it.
causing a ruckus while I'm trying to talk about podcasting.
I think that when given direction, Alex and I are fine. We'd be there and we'd talk about it with you. We wouldn't be off drawing penises or anything. But without you there, I think Alex is probably bringing up a valid point that we probably fail at having a good cohesive topic and staying on point.
Wait, who says that I can't talk and draw penises at the same time?
You're right. I'm sorry. I should not have suggested that you were incapable of doing that. I have absolute faith in your ability to draw penises and talk at the same time.
Well, just spitballing, but it's entirely possible that I could sell my ticket, buy a pass for one day, and maybe make the drive down there if my car is in good repair by that point, and do a panel. I don't know. It's just something that popped in my head just now.
Well, we have a month to submit the panel, and I don't want you to be thinking about that.
We'll see. Just popped into my head, something to consider. It's interesting. Last year, I had a weekend pass, and then I got the VIP 2 passes, so I gave away my pass on the podcast, actually, to a guy that was very deserving, and then I gave Matt 317, a regular of our podcast, my other VIP pass, and so we both went together as VIPs. We did the party, we did the skipping of the lines, we went to the lounge, and I gotta say, I really didn't want one this year.
No VIP for Joseph.
Which is different from a lot of people.
Yeah, it's true. We were discussing that, how everybody wants a VIP. So why did you feel that you would prefer a regular pass to a VIP pass?
Well, okay, let's go through the perks. Skipping of the lines was nice. If it weren't so expensive, I would get it just for skipping of the lines. Like, if there was a skipping the lines pass. But ultimately, like, the panel I most wanted to go to was Kathleen's. And I recall being there early enough where I could have been in the first 10 people of the line. And then I was in line, and then a guardian said, "Oh, you're VIP, go sit over there, sir." And I felt like a complete piece of crap, as everyone's in line for like an hour and I'm sitting over there in a chair. So really, ultimately, did nothing for me.
I went to Kathleen's panel too. I think I saw you.
Yeah, I heard about that later.
Wait, what do you mean you heard about that later?
You told me after the fact that you had been there at the panel. I just didn't see you.
Oh. Well, I mean, I had to wait until everyone else went in, and then I just went and took a seat in the back.
Okay, that's one perk. The other one is you get 2 autograph signings instead of 1. That's nice, I only used my autographs signings for my sister, who wanted specific autographs. She wanted Caboose, Sister, and Tex, and I got those for her in 2 signings, fortunately. And it was nice to be able to skip the line, but again, what was I going to do if I wasn't skipping the line? I'd be standing in line. It's not a big deal, because they capped it and the lines weren't that big. So again, not that huge of a perk for me as on a personal level. So, okay, that's 2 perks. The 2 skipping the line perks. Mm-hmm. Then there was the VIP lounge, which was, I would go there, I would sit down, I'd be surrounded by 20 other people that really didn't want to interact with you if you weren't Rooster Teeth staff. And then the TV was just running the same DVD over and over. I think it was usually like commercials or trailers of Rooster Teeth stuff.
Yeah.
And then whenever they were doing stuff on the Achievement Hunter stage, you could watch that in the VIP lounge on the TV, which I don't know why you would if you could just, be there and watch it firsthand. And then occasionally someone like Jack or Gus, that's the 2 that when I was there, would walk in by themselves and then like get swarmed by 6 people. So you'd be like, I'm not going to be that guy. So ultimately you just end up sitting there, check your phone, get up and leave, at least on my end. This is just my experience, why it's not good for me. Whereas those who, they really want to get to know Gus, they want to meet Gus, I've met Gus, they want to meet Gus, so a guest comes in, they go over and walk to him. Maybe those 6 people were people who, out of the 20 people in the room, had not met Gus yet. So I'm not criticizing them. Then there was the VIP party. Now that was pretty fun, but ultimately it was pretty much like the VIP lounge. It was, well, I don't want to be the guy who swarms such and such, like Gilby, and all these other people. Like Jeff had a crowd following him. I was with Matt, and Matt wanted to say hi to Jeff, and it was just almost impossible. And it's that kind of thing. It's just, the party was the same thing as the lounge, which is the same thing as any other time that you see the staff, is that there's always a swarm. So for me, on a personal level, it just didn't work for me. It was nice to be able to skip lines and go to the party, but ultimately I skipped the party just to go hang out with JJ and Jenny in the first place. So
Jenny.
That's my ringing endorsement of the VIP pass.
And I've heard other people say the exact same thing that you have. And on the opposite end, I've heard people who actually really enjoyed the VIP pass and the perks that it gave. So it seems like a very polarizing subject of, did you have a good time with the VIP pass, or did you have a okay time? You might have been better off just saving the extra money and just getting a regular pass.
Yeah, it's there. It's a good service for those who haven't had the opportunity to meet certain RT staff, and it's a great opportunity if you are like, I am going here because I want to say hi to Joel and I want to get Gus's autograph. I want to do this. Then you go to the party and you go from person to person. You don't mind rubbing elbows with everyone. But then if you are more like us who have been at many conventions and we've had a conversation with more than a few of them, that's not our goal anymore. Our goal is more the community. And then you don't really get any added community aspect by going to RTX as a VIP. In fact, I would almost say if you're more on the community side of things, either be a Spectre like I was, or be like a Guardian like Tristan and Alex are.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Malachi, have you ever been a VIP at a convention? I know you go to a lot of conventions.
No, I've never been a VIP at a convention. I've only ever gone. And I, for one, will never not buy a ticket online ahead of time, because I remember the year that you were like, oh, the lines were nothing when I went to Anime Boston. They're nothing. You'll get right in. And we get there, and it was 6 hours later before we got in, Tristan.
That's not my fault. I refuse to take blame for that.
Mm-hmm.
It was, look, the Anime Boston was in that transition where every other year it was like good lines, bad online, good online, bad lines. You didn't know what it was going to be.
It was in its infancy, because it was the, third year that I went when I was opened?
I think so. Yeah, it wasn't, it hadn't been going very long.
But yes, I've never been a VIP. Always enjoyed conventions, so probably next year I will more than likely probably be at the RT convention.
Oh my gosh. All four of us together then.
Yeah.
That is news. That's big news. Breaking news! Malachi might be at next RTX 2017.
He's coming out of the Rooster Teeth fan closet.
Yay!
Hey, Tristan. You said something recently on a Rooster Teeth journal about your new hobby.
Yes.
And also you've been drawing. So why don't you talk about stuff you've been up to lately?
Sure. I wrote a journal recently because you see a lot of people in the community who get excited about a video game or a movie or something, and they go and they cosplay it. And I've always looked at that and thought it was really cool, but I've never had the urge to sink the time and effort it takes to create something like that. Also, knowing that I'm not much of a craftsman. So I've never cosplayed, I've never made weapons from video games or tried to, deck myself out like any of these characters. But what I talked about in my journal, I've been reading a lot of Brandon Sanderson books lately and rereading the Stormlight archives. And for some reason, there's any number of things that you could cosplay in those books, all these characters with their fancy outfits and weapons. But what struck me in the books was the money that they use. The money that they use in the books, instead of coins or dollar bills or anything like that, they use little glass beads with gemstones like rubies or amethysts or diamonds inside them as currency. And it's important in the story because those gemstones are capable of holding on to the magic that the fantasy book predicates itself upon, the Stormlight. And I just thought, these are gotta be the coolest looking things ever. They're really impractical as currency because of how much space they take up at being a sphere as opposed to a disc. But I just wanted to make them so bad, so I started learning about stone cutting and how inexpensive some of these stones like amethyst or garnet are. I picked up a whole vial of little chips of garnet, probably got 50 pieces of red garnet for $3. And so I've just been looking around online, learning how to shape them into nice faceted little stones, and then I'll probably encase it in a resin first, but I do eventually want to do actual glass. So that's the project I've been working on, is to make these glass beads with gemstones inside them, just for myself, a little personal project to learn how to do. And it's actually been pretty fun. There's a lapping machine at work, which is a polishing wheel. And so I've been working on some of the garnets that I have on that, learning, how to hold it and how to create the facets, everything that goes into it. The other thing is drawing there have been a couple times in my life where people have said, oh, your this or that art looks decent, could you make this picture? And a lot of times I've just been intimidated or really just not actually been good enough to do it. So now I've actually been working on my sketching and trying to get better. I use kind of an anime style when I draw, and so I'm just trying to improve upon that so that I can create pieces that I'm proud of for myself, for other people, or if there's ever a project where somebody wants somebody who can draw, I can say, yeah, I can draw.
You and Gina talked about a partnership you might enter into concerning your drawings.
Yes, I told Gina that if I ever produce a line art that is decent enough, I'll send it to her for coloring, because I am really bad at coloring, and she likes coloring things, so I thought that would be a cool thing.
Yeah, it was in the past year she rediscovered basically coloring books, but like she would find pages on the internet of line art and then print them off and color with colored pencils, because it was a good therapeutic way for her to relieve stress, much like playing Minecraft is for her. Not that we haven't been able to play Minecraft lately since you've been in your transitionary period. So she's been going to her coloring of pictures. So then she saw your drawings when I was looking at them on Twitter, and she said, "Oh, I could color those." So that'll be cool if you two can get that going. She's been wondering about that, and I told her that you've been drawing again recently.
Yeah, I mean, if she sees one that I've been posting a lot of my sketches lately on Twitter, just sort of to motivate myself to actually keep drawing. Say, if I doodle something, I don't care if it's good or bad, I'm going to post a picture of it. And the nice thing is the fact that I put it on Twitter, there was one that I just sketched. Did a quick doodle, put it on Twitter. Immediately after looking at it on Twitter, I went, this sucks. And I went through and I sketched over and I added more lines and I improved upon it, posted it again, and looked at it some more. And just looking at it on Twitter, just the fact that other people, whoever's following me, has to suffer and look at these bad pictures, motivated me to keep redrawing and fixing it to make it look better.
Thanks,
so it's already working.
Just kidding.
It's already working.
Just kidding, Tristan.
We're all friends here.
Well, you understand more about the creative process now than a lot of people learn in their entire lifetime, which is you spend 10,000 hours of being horrible before you can really say that you're a master. Mm-hmm. And I can say that you're a better artist than I am. And I used to think back in the day I was a decent artist, like I could have gone into architecture, kind of like drawing buildings. But you're a lot better with faces than I've ever been.
I will say I'm better with faces, way better with faces than I am with buildings. I don't know why, but geometric shapes, I can use a straight edge, and I still have never produced an image of a building that I went, that looks good. Every one of them I was like, ugh.
So if we could ever make a house with a face on it, we'd make a great team.
Yes! Face houses. It'll be a wave of the future.
Wave of the future.
Alright.
Wow.
So, Tristan, also, you were talking about basically cosplaying in a way that you make the currency in the book series you've been reading. If that goes over well, if you really enjoy that and other people enjoy it, would you branch out and do, like, currency for video games?
Like rupees from Zelda and stuff like that?
Yeah, why not?
Why not, indeed. Yeah, I'd find a way to do that for sure.
Jenna and I have talked about getting into cosplay. I've been going through my Magic collection, just getting rid of just cards I'd never used, and I keep finding pictures of cool outfits on female characters that I think Gina would like, so I hand them over to her. She's got a stockpile now. I was like, well, you could have inspiration for drawing and coloring. You could have inspiration for cosplay if you ever want to cosplay. And then we talked about it. We were like, when the kids are a little bit older, we should do some cosplay for conventions. Like, if we go to a Magic tournament, we could cosplay as
Eldrazi.
Well, no, not as Eldrazi, unless we want to have spaghetti all over our body.
That would be great, though.
Spaghetti head.
My question for you guys is, have you ever cosplayed at all ever? Like, have you ever cosplayed?
Yes, we have. We went to Austin Comic-Con a few years ago when we only had Michael, and Michael was at Grandma's. That year, we went to 2 different conventions. The first one, we didn't have Sarah, and we went to Austin Comic-Con, and we went steampunk. Gina had like a coat that was kind of cool and like some boots, and she had 2 muskets, and she was going specifically as an engineer from Guild Wars 2, because we were both engineers in Guild Wars 2. But I went more steampunk, like with an overcoat, and I had goggles large goggles that I had over my face, and we used black hairspray and made it look like an explosion had gone off on my face, and then I had the goggles up so like the area around my eyes was not covered in the so-called soot. It was kind of a cool cosplay. And then a few months later, Gina was pregnant, and we were at Dallas Comic-Con, and we had to stand in a parking garage for like 3 hours in the heat of May. And Gina was not doing well because she was pregnant, second trimester. And then I don't think she cosplayed that time because she just was not comfortable. But I went with a different steampunk outfit, a different pair of goggles that were more like steampunky rather than like cover your face when you're doing a crazy experiment. And I had an outfit with a little bit more conducive to the hot weather, so it was suspenders and a white shirt and some brown pants. Speaking of brown pants.
Well, I thought that before we got into that discussion, we haven't included Malachi enough. He has cosplayed.
Yeah, a few times. My favorite character that I cosplayed was Virgil from Devil May Cry, the more classical version, not the new DMC.
Yeah.
And I was just gonna say, for like Alex and for Tristan, like you should cosplay at least once to really get the feel of it, like your favorite character, because you'll get the one person that, you know, it's a great icebreaker to get people to talk to you. And I had people come up to me, just like, I had a darker complected guy just yell, Virgil! And I'm just like, oh, hello there. And he's like, dude, I know this is kind of weird, but can I give you a hug? And I'm like, sure. And he gave me a hug, you know. It's just that reaction that people give you with stuff, and you get talking to people, and it's a lot of fun. I also had a friend I made there that been friends with him for 2-3 years. His dressed as Virgil, and he loved him in the Marvel vs. Capcom game, and I played it with him there at the convention, and we hit it off and have been friends since.
And now they're dating.
I would definitely recommend anyone that's been hesitant on cosplaying, just do it. There's, you know, no one's going to really notice it. It's just going to be for you unless you find the people that love it, and you'll make friends.
I have made 2 costumes, though they weren't too elaborate. I cosplayed Con Smith from the game Killer 7 at one of the conventions I went to back in, 2010, maybe? Wow. It might have even been longer ago than that. And then I created a costume, that was to match how my character in D&D looked. So I was playing an Eladrin who wore fancy clothing, and so I actually stitched up some fancy clothing and a cloak, and got some compliments on that.
I forgot about my most important cosplay ever.
What was it?
It was the one that got second place at the SideQuest contest 2 years ago.
Oh,
nice.
I was the dude.
I remember that.
Jeff Bridges.
Basically, you wore a bathrobe and a white t-shirt.
Yeah, okay. See, a lot more work went into it than you make it sound like. I had to find shorts that looked like his boxers. I had to find shoes that looked like the right shoes. I had to find a white shirt that passed as the white shirt that he wore without, showing nip. And then I had to find a bathrobe that kind of resembled his bathrobe. And then I'm pretty sure that I used my RTX glasses, because the RTX glasses from 2013 were actually not dissimilar to the Jew's sunglasses. So I just wore those with the red thing on the side and it says Rooster Teeth.
You did. I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I still have those.
Me too.
So, actually some work went into that cosplay.
Yeah, but your hair and beard was already there.
Oh yeah, it was already there, but you never know. Maybe I grew it just for that. You don't know, Tristan.
3 days later. Yes, my costume's done.
You don't know?
I don't know.
You don't know me.
I kinda know. Well, I kinda do know.
Now, I can't say that I've ever cosplayed. I really want to. I haven't quite found the character that I'm like, yes, I have to do this, and I also need a lot of practice in, creating the costume.
You don't necessarily also have to create it. There are a lot out there to give you a start at least.
Yeah. However, I do have a costume of sorts that I want to wear at some point during RTX this year, probably on one of my breaks.
Would it make you look a bit regal?
It would make me look a bit regal, and It's very crappy. It's it's a very crappy costume, but it is on my profile on the Rooster Teeth site, and it is a Prince Adam, the guy who turns into He-Man.
Nice.
He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Yes, and it was specifically for the YouTube "What's Going On" by the Four Non Blondes. And actually, it's not even the actual title isn't "What's Going On," but that's what the YouTube clip I think is called. I think it's really actually called "What's Up" is the name of the song. But yeah, I got this really crappy blonde wig. I actually have the He-Man suit that I've worn underneath. I don't know if I'm going to go that far because
it's hot.
But yeah, when I wore the costume originally, it was okay. I had clothes underneath, then I had the suit. Then I had the white shirt, the white long sleeve shirt that Prince Adam wears, and then the pink top that he wears, and the plus tights on my legs. That whole thing I was burning up, and I was in a basement in winter at the time. So I might have to cut out the muscle suit for now. But yeah, I kind of want to do that and just walk around, just like get people to laugh and think that it's pretty hilarious.
Nice. And now, speaking of brown pants.
Oh yeah, speaking of brown pants, if you have not watched Deadpool, now is the time for you to say goodbye to the audience.
Bye, audience!
So we're not talking about the movie that you watched.
No, we're skipping that. We're going to talk about that next week.
Yay.
Okay.
I mean, yay that we're going to talk about it.
If you have not watched Deadpool, goodbye, audience.
Bye, we love you.
And come back to this when you have watched Deadpool. We love you.
Goodbye.
Watch Deadpool.
If you're still listening, then it's about to get real.
Oh man, that movie.
Alex, when did you watch Deadpool?
I watched Deadpool on this past Monday, which would have been the 7th of March.
Took you way too long.
And then Tristan and I saw it, the Monday after it came out? Is that right?
The Monday holiday. When did you see it, Malachi?
I watched it twice before Alex watched it once.
Shut up! I didn't have anyone to go see it with. I don't go see movies by myself, even if they're Deadpool.
He doesn't want to admit that he's a lonely bachelor. The rest of us are quite comfortable with that realization.
I watched it pretty shortly after it came out. I think that first weekend.
Let's start by recapping the reviews that Tristan and I gave. The ratings that we gave it, and then now we can go into more detail since Alex won't be mad at us.
Yes.
Which, Tristan, you gave it an 89, and what was your reason?
My reason for the rating that I got was, for one thing, no cable in the first movie. We have to wait till the second movie. The second one was there were times when it felt like he was stringing together profanities to unnecessary extremes. They were pretty funny for the most part, and it was fine, but there were just a couple times where it was just like, one less profanity in that string and it would have been funny. Now you're just kind of killing the joke, you know? The fact that they could use profanity, they use it as much. And the reason that it bothered me the way it did is because I've read the Deadpool comics, and those are still for everybody, so he doesn't swear a lot in them. So it was just a bit jarring at times. I don't really have a problem with him cursing, but there were just times where it stopped being funny. The other thing was that it was really hard for me to suspend my disbelief and say that Ryan Reynolds was ugly, ever.
We've made that point so many times in this podcast, and finally, recently, Rooster Teeth said the same thing. We're like, we've been saying this for months.
Well, they haven't been listening to us, that's okay. But yeah, it's just like, a lot of the movie centers around him focusing on how disfigured he is, and other people saying how ugly he is since the procedure. And it's just like, even post-procedure Ryan Reynolds is prettier than me, so I have a real hard time relating to this.
It's also interesting that they chose to come up with this weird reason for why he's disfigured instead of it just being cancer.
That was still the reason.
No, it wasn't. It was, he was put in the chamber that didn't have much oxygen, and it triggered his change, and when his change was triggered, he became disfigured.
Well, okay, so the way that his...
that's not the kid. You're saying that... Wait, what was it again?
He's saying that this chamber disfigured him.
Yeah.
And the change disfigured him, but that's not really true. Go ahead.
How is that not true? That's exactly what happened. He became ugly when he was in the chamber.
Well, for the mutation to happen, that's what that gave him the abilities. What the mutation itself was what disfigured him.
So in the comics, they didn't use a chamber to trigger his mutation. They injected him, and they gave him all these genes from different mutants. And he got all these combined abilities. But the reason he's disfigured didn't change from the comics to the movie. When he was dying of cancer in both the comics and the movie, and when he got the healing factor mutation, which in the comics was surgically extracted from Wolverine and implanted into him, in the movie was inherently part of his DNA, but triggered by that machine. The act of him healing, since cancer is the rapid growth of unnatural tissue, and healing is the regeneration of natural tissue, it caused his skin to bubble up and all of his flesh throughout his body to bubble up as it rapidly died and healed and was regenerated and then generated again by the combination of the cancer and the healing factor. That's what happened in the comics, and that's effectively, though not well explained, what happened in the movie too.
They made it seem like in the movie it was just a process. It was part of the process of the change. They never mentioned the cancer after that. And then he wanted to get Francis because he wanted Francis to reverse the change. If it was cancer, there'd be no way to reverse that.
Well, if you remember what Francis said at the end, he said there was never a cure. He was just frigging with him. That's all it was.
Yes, but they never used the word cancer.
They used the word cancer before he went through the surgery.
Yes, but they never used it as an explanation. My understanding from the comics is that he's a walking tumor. And that's just a result of the cancer spreading across his body and him not dying from it. And then in the movie, it happens all at once in the low oxygen chamber. Never a mention of cancer.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start with an explanation. The chamber. They used the chamber. The way he explained it was that they were saying sometimes people who have a potential to mutate will mutate in response to life-threatening situations. So it's like part of that fight or flight response. And this was something that struck a chord with me, honestly, because I've been reading Brandon Sanderson, and that's the way it works in his book Mistborn, is people who have an affinity for the Mistborn powers don't actually manifest those powers until they're put in a life or death situation and barely survive, until they face death and survive it. And so that's kind of the explanation that they gave in Deadpool, was that his mutant powers only come out in response to almost dying. So that's why they put him in the tube in the first place, because it kept him in a state of perpetually almost dead. And that was supposed to just force the mutated genes to trigger. This is different from the comics because he was not naturally a mutant in the comics. He was part of the Weapon X program where they implanted a bunch of powers into him.
Well, you did remember that the blue liquid they used, and also there was a vial that looked like it had a yellow solution and red droplets of blood in it, so...
Yeah. I mean, but they still kind of introduced it like you have the potential to mutate, and so now we're just going to force it to trigger.
Yeah, so that one part of the story is actually more accurate with Barakapool, but we will not use Barakapool as an example of a good Deadpool.
No.
I love that they put the little figure in there.
Yes, the Barakapool figure was awesome.
That was so great.
And his most prized figure.
His most prized possession.
My review was only, I think, what was it, like 2 points higher than yours?
At 3.
And it was simply three.
Points.
It was a 90. Was it 90? 92. Yeah. And my rating was a little bit higher only because I appreciate movies that aren't trying to be something other than what they are. The profanity was off-putting. The sidekick and his improv style humor was a little bit off-putting. Although the zinger about the black clothing was great. It was perfect. So really it's just the idea of not trying to be anything greater than what it was, because when something tries to be more than it is, which will be something I want to talk about next week with the movie that I watched, then it just sort of falls short, and you can feel it fall short. So that's why I gave Deadpool a 92. Alex and Malachi, you guys have not given your ratings of the movie yet. So, Malachi, you've seen it twice. Why don't we let you go first?
I would rate it pretty high. I don't know about giving it an exact number. I really enjoyed it because I don't have a lot of Deadpool background. I know the character as breaks the fourth wall, very crazy, insane, like a lot of jokes and humor, and he was insanely strong. And that's all I knew of Deadpool. So for me, the movie was done pretty well. I really enjoyed it. Just everything about it. And just the craziness. The whole part where he was on the highway trying to get Francis, and when Colossus shows up and he punches him and breaks his hands. Just that whole scene was ridiculous. And that's what I wanted to see, and I loved it.
Speaking of the highway scene, How It Should Have Ended finally released their episode about Deadpool today. And it was they had the highway scene where he was counting bullets. And then the guy that when he was counting his bullets and he was counting down to 1, and he goes 3, 2, and shoots the guy because he's mad, and he goes stupid, and he's got the 3 guys he has to do the flip, right? Well, the guy's laying on the ground going, why are you counting bullets when you could just grab one of our guns?
It's because they're his favorite guns.
And the bullets were later numbered, too.
Magically.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a nice touch. So I'm assuming, Malachi, you're giving it somewhere between a 95 to a 97 based on what you've said.
Yep. That
it feels pretty close to perfect in your eyes.
And the ending, the after credits thing. Freaking brilliant. Brilliant.
All right, Alex. We've waited so long to hear what you think of Deadpool.
You got this.
Don't screw up.
Oh, I absolutely hated it.
Okay, see you, everyone.
Okay. So I would rate it, since I'm not overly critical of movies, that's going to boost my score a little bit. I would say a 95% for me.
Okay.
I would say that there were a couple times where, due to like being present time, then going to flashback, then present time, then going to flashback, then going back to present time, I was sometimes confused. I was like, are we looking at what was happening in the past, or are we present day right now? I'm unsure. There was a lot more serious parts than I thought that there was going to be. I knew the whole, like, the cancer thing and how he gets his powers and the stuff that he had to go through, but I was still like, wow, I thought that there was going to be a little more centered on the comedy, which it still is, but just less than what I thought that there was going to be. And unlike you guys who had a little bit of a problem with the whole sidekick kind of giving him crap about how ugly he is, I really enjoyed that. Like the whole avocado thing, I was laughing my ass off because of just like the things that he kept adding to it.
I don't deny that that was funny. But there's the two problems. Tristan's problem being that Ryan Reynolds is still the most handsome man in the world, regardless of what's wrong with his face. And my problem being that I felt like there were just multiple takes that were being taken. It just kind of, whenever you get one of those takes, and this is a thing that you get a lot with Seth Rogen movies, where you get a certain line that just sort of sticks out because you can tell that this was one of like 20 takes that were taken. And that's what that felt like. And if they had kind of played with that a little bit more, maybe that would have worked for me a little bit more.
I mean, I can see that. I don't know. It was so perfect for me, just each thing that he added on. So I can see, though, how it can be thought of in a different light, though.
The typographical map jokes. You bring up an interesting point about, and Tristan and I talked about this in our review as well, about the constant flashbacks actually kind of detracting from the overall story. And I wanted to talk about that, and you guys feel free to weigh in, as always. But it reached a point towards the middle where I was actually starting to lose focus because they had done so many flashbacks, and the story even stopped to really make us feel sorry for him, which I did, during the part where he was left for dead in the fire. Mm-hmm. That part, and the story just sort of stops. And then we're back on the bridge, and like, why are we still on this bridge? And that comes back to the fact that the movie wouldn't exist if it weren't for that initial bridge scene with the car, where he's singing along with the music, and he says, "Oh, hello," and then he jumps down off the bridge, and he lands in the car, and he's killing everyone with the car. He has the drawing, which we don't actually see, except in the opening credits, which were perfect.
Angel of the Dawn. That was good use of that song.
I just love the fact, going the opening credits, just how They're like, we're not going to put any names. We're just going to put what their positions essentially are in the movie.
When it got to the funny sidekick and the emotional teenager, I went, are they just making generic characters now? And then I watched the movie and went, oh, there's the sidekick. Oh, there's the teenager. So they have that sequence basically straight out of the test footage. That was the reason that we even have the movie, was because of the Sony leak, right?
Yep.
So I knew that was going to be a big sequence. I didn't know that was going to be half the movie. Because they kept cutting from that, which was comedy, to, as Alex said, going back to the past, to the flashbacks. It starts off kind of funny, with the whole romance thing, but then it goes straight into this serious stuff, and every time it goes back to him with Francis, it's very serious and dark, and then it goes back to the bridge, and then it's comedy again. Very, very slapstick murder humor, I guess. And then it goes back to the serious, and eventually the serious just brings the movie to a screeching halt, which is the scene where he changes, and then he and Francis fight, and then he gets left for dead, and then he's just burning. And then at that point, you're like, what is going on, I thought I was watching Deadpool, and now I've got the feels. But also, more importantly, the pacing just hit a wall. I just hit my hand against another hand. It's very physical.
I actually disagree with all that in the sense of that how straightforward that storyline concept is. It was a way for them to really change it up so it wasn't just linear and very, very, you knew what was going to happen kind of thing. The hopping back and forth was to give it a little more character to the timeline itself.
I appreciated the way in which it was done. It for my taste, sitting there in the movie theater, it took too long.
And also, it gave opportunities for him to break the fourth wall. The whole thing where he made the joke is like, "Oh, it's the fourth wall breaking the fourth wall. It's like 16 walls."
My friends and I walk out of the theater. One of them turns to me and she says, I bet there are so many kids in there who did not understand. Like, they got stuck on the math behind that fourth wall joke."
That's why I believe that it was a good way they did that. And it's good that they did it, period, because it gave a lot more, meat to the story of just him going and getting his girl back,
Any other thoughts you have, Alex?
All the unicorns.
We can finally talk about this. The cartoon.
No. I appreciated the little cartoon animals that he could see and nobody else could, because it gave you, kind of an idea of how his brain works and nobody else's does. But I think I agreed with you when you said that could have been used maybe a little bit more than it had been.
Yeah, it was very wacky comedy. It was very improv heavy comedy, which is fine. It's very Ryan Reynolds heavy style comedy, which is perfect. There was a lot about Deadpool that we still could have seen, and that cartoon was a glimpse at where maybe they should be going with it, is go a little bit less sane, because, I can understand the logic behind let's not go Smeagol with this, having the multiple voices, that maybe they'll be like, well, they've already done that with Smeagol, we can't really do that, and it'll be difficult to pull off anyway. It'd be hard for people to track where the voices are, as opposed to in the comics. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that in the comics it was a different font for each voice, or for a different way of...
They were in different speech bubbles. The one inside, the logical voice inside his head was always in big golden speech bubbles.
So it's difficult to do that, but I wanted more of the crazies, more of the cartoons. Like, he walks off with the unicorn doll, which was really funny, but the cartoon itself was a glimpse into the character as we've all come to understand Deadpool to be, and I wanted more of it.
I'd kind of like to see them do one of the fourth wall jokes, like from the comics, where there are a couple times in the comics where he'll say, "Oh, such and such is going to happen," and everybody will stare at him like, "Why would that happen, and how do you know?" And he would respond, "I can see it 3 panels ahead." I'd like to, maybe he pulls out a video monitor or something where he's watching the movie, but he's watching the movie 5 minutes, fast forwarded 5 minutes. He goes, "Oh, that's how it's gonna go." And so he he wins a fight. He wins a fight that he should have lost because he saw what move they were gonna pull. Something like that.
This is us now.
When will then be now?
The Ludicrous Speed scene, and he's like, let's put this away and never watch this again.
They also had History of the World Volume 2 on the shelf.
Well, actually, there's, I guess, two different ways that Deadpool kind of relates to Spaceballs. There's the whole fast-forwarding a little bit too far to the part with the unicorn, but also the idea that he always seems to know what medium he's in, so he can, like in the comics, where he can read ahead the panels, very Cyanide and Happiness style, and know what's going to happen. I like Spaceballs.
So, overall, what are everyone's thoughts? Good movie?
Yeah, I'd say really good movie, worth watching. I'll probably watch it again when it comes out on DVD. I'll definitely watch it again when the kids are in bed, and I'll turn the sound down.
That is a good point. So, who would watch it again? I know Malachi would. So, Alex, would you watch it again?
Hell yeah, I'm plan on getting it on Blu-ray when it comes out.
And the reason I feel that's an important question to ask is because there was one of my friends who I went to see it with, who came out and said it was a fun movie, he had a good time, he thought it was a good portrayal, not that he's very familiar with the character, it was not something he would see again.
I watched it at least one more time, just with Gina, just in a home viewing as we're relaxing in the evening, eating ice cream and popcorn and whatever.
Yeah.
After that, I would probably watch it either if it's been a while and Gina and I are like, let's watch Deadpool, or if we have a friend over, or if we're over at a friend's place and they're like, let's watch Deadpool.
Yeah.
Then I would watch it again with them just as a popcorn movie and just kind of laugh and have a good time. I wouldn't watch it as often as, say, Firefly or something like that. It's something that you can watch it and you'll be good. You'll be full, as it were, for a while. And you can watch it again and then get the yuck-yucks and get refreshed on what was so funny about it. I just coined a new phrase, get the yuck-yucks.
Get the yuck-yucks.
And then you can set it on the shelf for 6 months, you'll be fine, and then you can go back and watch it again. It'll have the ability of still being good each time you watch it. I just don't see it as something I would want to watch constantly over and over, like I did with, like, Lord of the Rings when that first came out on DVD.
Alright, sounds good. Everybody liked it, and we had a good time. So, shall we call it there?
I thought it was great, and I wouldn't change a thing.
That's my line!
I think Malachi and Alex should get the final word on this since they didn't get to weigh in last time.
What final word?
Just wrap it up for us.
Put a bow on.
Your final thoughts on it.
My final thoughts is to go see Deadpool. You should at least see it once. And Deadpool is awesome and is my favorite superhero / person who thinks he's not really a hero, so he's not really a superhero.
I need a hero.
Holding up for a Malachi till the end of the podcast.
Okay, Malachi. Do it.
Do it.
Final words.
Gay P4. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I can't wait until next week.
Yes, Red versus Blue, and can I just say the movie I wanted to talk about? I'll just say it. Should I say it?
Just say it.
Yes, Red versus Blue and Jurassic World is what we're going to talk about next week. Because that's the movie I rented with my wife, and I want to talk about it with you guys. But I'm going to wait until next week.
Alright.
Alright.
Good night, everybody.
Alright, good night, everyone.
It's been fun talking to you guys, and I look forward to talking to you guys again next week and hanging out with the audience.
Yay!
And audience, I hope you enjoyed. Alex?
Yes, I'm back again after another missed episode. I'm so sad.
What's the thing that you have to say?
I think he wants you to say goodbye.
Alex, say the thing.
Oh, sorry.
Say the thing.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Caboose. That is, it's a scary thought. It makes you want to kill everything in sight, doesn't it? 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 Kill everything in sight, doesn't it?